Within the app, you guys are going to find exercises that train your rotator cuff. We do them with dumbbells, we can do them with resistance bands, also on the rings. So in this video, I want to show you how to do that and how not to do them, because it's really important for you guys to understand how to strengthen your rotator cuff. This is one of the most common injuries in the gym because we never strengthen them. There's none of the movements, none of the big lifts that we do strengthen your rotator cuff. So that's why I included it in the plan, and that's why I want to make sure that you guys know exactly how to train for it. And I want you to never skip these exercises when it's included in your plan. To be honest, everyone should have at least a variation of these exercises that I'm about to show you, just to aim for shoulder health. I'm going to start with number one, is a dumbbell, is a lay down dumbbell external rotation. You sit, you lay down on your side, and you want to keep your elbow really close to the side of your body and never let it flare out. And then from this position, I'm going to be doing these external rotations. So as you can see, I'm not bringing my elbows away, I'm not bringing it up this way. I keep the elbows in, even though if your range is quite small, something like that, that's good. Use a lightweight, use even 1 kg dumbbell, and eventually you get stronger, you can lift heavier with more range. Make sure you do both sides to strengthen those rotator cuff muscles. The other thing that we can do with dumbbells is called the W raise or high pull. You will find both variations in the plan, and I'll tell you what the main difference is between the two. The high pull is a bit more athletic movement. With the high pull, you lean slightly forward, bringing your bum back. You pull up, and the movement ends up next to your ears. So I see a lot of people do this exercise, something like that. That doesn't train your rotator cuffs, because as you can see, there's no external rotation involved in this movement. So what you want to do is bring your elbows up and then do the rotation, and you can actually put this into one movement like this. And the reason why I'm leaning forward, that if I was upright and I did this movement, first of all, there's no real tension on my muscles here. I can hold this all day long. Plus, if you go over, you can actually hurt your shoulders. So by leaning forward, now straight away there's tensions on my rotator cuff. It's much harder to hold, and it's also much safer because I can't drop the weight behind my body. So that was a high pull. The W raise is pretty much the same thing. Only thing it changes that you have a bit more control. Bringing it up this way, so I'm much slower in terms of pace. And I'm not worried too much about creating momentum. So that's your W raise. But once again, as you can see, my hands end up next to my ears. They're not hanging down here. Bring it back behind the body. At least that's the aim. And you should feel the back of your shoulders firing up massively. Also somewhere here in the armpit area, that's where your rotator cuff muscles are located. And we can do the same with bands. You just have to hook it up just once. Use a light band. You don't really need any heavier than that. Just literally use the thinnest band you can find in the gym. So I'm holding it this way. So I'm not holding the band like that. I have an overhand grip, reaching in. I'm stepping back, so there's tensions. And now I'm turning my thumbs back towards me. From this position, I'm gonna lead it with the wrist, not with the elbows, to pulling it back up just like this. Almost like when you flex in the mirror, trying to show your biceps. It's a similar sort of movement. You want to have your shoulders and your elbows in line, and you want to have a 90-degree elbow bend. So once again, I'm reaching in, turn it out, so that's an external rotation. Thumbs facing backwards, pull it towards my forehead, but a little bit higher and apart. So the mistake that people tend to do is either doing that, so there's no external rotation, or they do the rotation but they kind of keep their wrist like in, so they're not coming out that way. That's the proper execution. So like a 90-degree, just like that. Do a squeeze and bring it back. So that's quite heavy for me, so I'm stepping slightly forward. That makes it easier. And now I can really come right behind the body. Let me show this from the side. so you guys get a better understanding what I'm doing here. So now you can see it from the side. It's gonna be quite tough. This one's a little bit higher than what I would put it to. So maybe have it somewhere like head height, slightly higher. This one's slightly a bit too high, but that's okay, it's fine for just for now. So from here, I want you guys to bring behind the body just like this. So I'll show you the wrong version. That doesn't do anything. You want to bring it towards you and back while you're keeping that 90-degree elbow bent. The other thing that I want you to avoid is don't do the pigeon neck. The pigeon neck is when you try to get to the movement or try to bring your shoulders, actually your wrist behind the body by bringing your head forward, and that movement kind of becomes like that. This is not the day to practice that kind of thing. So I don't want you to do that. You're not coming underneath the bend with your neck. The neck is staying where it is. Everything is still, but your shoulder and your arm is the only thing that does the work. And if you don't have access to dumbbells, resistance bands, you can do it on a cable machine. I'm going to put a video here so you know what it looks like. Or you can use Olympic rings. If you have Olympic rings, you can still do that. But to set the difficulty, you have to be a bit smarter about it. Because the lower I'm going with this one, it almost makes it impossible to do a face pull. So what I have to do is actually come a little bit higher. So from here, now the exercise becomes much easier. So I can pull towards me and do the same movement, bring the wrist back behind. Just like that. The other variation we can do is hook it on a pole or something like this. That way. So yeah, that would be one. This is slightly too thick, but it can do the job. We can do step outs. So once again, the elbow is staying in. I'm keeping this tight and I'm going to slightly step out and coming back. Step out and coming back. What you want to avoid is letting your wrist curl in. So you don't want to sort of lose the tension. You want to keep that, even if that means you can only step small ones, but keeping the tension, elbow staying close, coming back. And then you can do the same thing, a bit more dynamic movement when you're doing rotation out that way. So like I said, this one's a little bit too thick, makes it hard to do the rotation. If I had a thinner band, I would be able to go a little bit further out, but I don't want to twist my body just to get to the other side. So everything stays stationary, slight movement, just like that. Once again, if I had a thinner band, it would make it slightly easier. So yeah, that's the external rotation, guys. Make sure you don't ignore that. Anything you do is involved stabilizing the joints, and that's how you're strengthening your rotator cuff.